Hello, Erica here. I'm back, and today I'm going to talk about the most difficult books I've ever read. These are books that were particularly challenging to me when I read them, either because of the time period they were written in, or because of the subject matter or the writing style, what have you. So let's start with the least difficult of the difficult books I've read, and that is The Line of Beauty by Alan Hollinghurst. I read this last year. It was one of my least favorite books of the year because it took me a very, very, very long time to get through. It's kind of a big book. But, it won the Man Booker Prize, or Alan Hollinghurst did. I think the book did. The themes in this book were beautiful. It's the story of a gay man living in London in the 1980s and his involvement with the son of a politician and kind of the fallout that becomes of that situation. My problem was with the writing style. It was very pedantic, it was very heavy, and it just dragged. And I feel like you can write intelligently and, use your vocabulary, whatever, without making the writing feel like it weighs so much. Does that make sense? I don't know. So because of that, coupled with the fact that I don't know a lot about the political situation in London in the 1980s, which is my own ignorance, I had a really hard time getting through this. Next, I have Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Now, Charles Dickens is one of my favorite authors, as you probably know by now, but I read this book when I was 14. My very first year in high school, it was the very first book we were assigned in our English class, and we were assigned the unabridged version, and it was very, very difficult. Not being familiar with books written at that time period yet, I really struggled with the language and to even comprehend what the hell was going on. And because of that, I still harbor a little bit of resentment for this book. Next, I have another book that I was assigned in school, but this was not until my senior or final year of high school, and that is A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. So again, I read this when I think I was 17, and I love this book now. I have reread it since, and I really love it now. But at the time, James Joyce was a little hard to comprehend. And I remember being very excited because it was such a short book for assigned reading. But, yeah. I mean, this is not an easy book. Look, I've marked all over it. Also, this is the saddest edition ever. You can also tell that I was really bored in that class. Look at that. Great. So, again, I struggled a lot with Joyce's language, and even the themes of this novel were difficult for me to grasp at that age. Since then, again, I have read it as an adult and have really enjoyed it. But at the time, this was a very tough read. The last two books were books that I read for pleasure. One is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I read this shortly after graduating high school. It might have been my first year of college. And I was very excited about it. I, at that time, was just starting to realize my love for classic literature, and, this is a buzz book. You hear all about this book once you start diving into that world, and so I was thrilled about it, and it was really hard at that time. Again, partially due to my own ignorance, because I know nothing of, Russia during this time. I know very little of Russian history, and partly because of the language, and because Tolstoy does not cut to the chase. Tolstoy likes to drag things out. I remember when I finished it, and I'm not going to spoil the ending for those of you who don't know, but I remember being shocked and horrified. What the hell did I just read? How did I spend, what is this, 1,000 pages, 800 pages reading this book? So, again, I have since studied this book a little bit more and done some research on my own and have come to grow a little bit fonder of it. But at the time, I was too young. I was just too young. Lastly is a more recent read for me. I believe I read this in 2013, and this is Anthony Burgess's Earthly Powers. I never hear this book spoken about on YouTube, and Anthony Burgess is, of course, the author of A Clockwork Orange. This is quite a bit heftier than A Clockwork Orange, though I will say the language is a little bit more normal. And this caught my eye because A, the cover hello, gorgeous. And B, because it sounded really interesting. It's the story of two men and their lives throughout the 20th century. The story spans across the globe. It spans both world wars, the Depression in the U.S., etc. One of the men is a gay novelist by the name of Kenneth, who is kind of coming into his own and starting to write novels and explore his sexuality. And the other is a very good friend of his who is a priest who eventually rises into popehood. So the juxtaposition of those relationships is very interesting. The themes in this novel are very, very heavy. Again, this took me forever to get through, and I don't regret having read this. That should be said. I don't regret having read any of these books. They're not books that I hated. They're just books that I struggled to get through. Anthony Burgess, I guess, when he set out to write this, said that he was going to write a novel of Tolstoyan proportions. He definitely achieved that. He does not hold back in this novel. He definitely touts his education. There are multiple languages thrown in at times, just little quips in German and Latin and Italian. The vocabulary is hugely pedantic, and I consider myself to be pretty well read and have a decent vocabulary, but I had to sit down with a dictionary at times with this book because I was like, what the hell is he talking about? Again, not something that I've regretted reading, but if it's something that you own or are considering picking up, I definitely would prepare you for the fact that this is not going to be an easy, quick, lighthearted read. So yes, those are some of the most difficult books I have ever read in my life, or most difficult reading experiences. Please, please, please tell me about the books that you found most difficult to get through, for whether because you read them when you were too young and didn't understand, or just because of subject matter or writing style. I'd really like to hear about it. And I don't think you'll scare me away, though you might if you talk about Thomas Hardy. Anyway, I hope y'all are having a lovely day, and I will see you soon. Bye.